Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Nick.
And welcome to It Takes Two, a podcast where two people take two movies with the same plot or premise and watch and discuss them.
And in this episode, we watched Chronicles of Riddick and Kung Fu Panda 2.
Yes, so this was an unusual one because we planned to do two episodes, one of which was going to be Pitch Black and Kung Fu Panda, and then we watched those movies and realised they're nothing alike.
Or it was an elaborate trick by me to make you watch Pitch Black.
Yes, the longer...
The jury is still hung.
The longer story behind this is that for a very long time I've been trying to get Nick to watch Kung Fu Panda 2, which is a movie that I love. And for a very long time he's been trying to get me to watch the Riddick series.
Yeah.
Because he loves them.
Yeah.
And back in July, when we were first researching twin films and films with similar premises to cover, we found a Reddit comment from someone who said that Kung Fu Panda 2 has the same plot as Chronicles of Riddick, and neither of us quite believed it. And then I described the plot of Kung Fu Panda 2, and you were quite convinced that it was the same movie.
Yeah. And spoilers, as from the following podcast presentation, you'll agree with us and that random person on Reddit.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. I tried to find the comment again so that we could name the person on Reddit, not that they'd ever see it anyway. But I couldn't find it when I went looking for it again.
So where do you want to start? Pitch Black or Kung Fu Panda 1 or...
I mean, I don't know if there's much to say about Pitch Black and Kung Fu Panda 1. They do both kind of set up the characters and set up the context. And there's a few similarities, but not really. I found that Riddick as a character was more similar to the villain of the first Kung Fu Panda movie.
He is an anti-hero, which is in my area of expertise of the movies that I love, like Snake Plissken and, Beatrix Kiddo. And
I don't know who these people are.
Any character from a Tarantino movie.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, so, but the whole point, well, not the whole point of Kung Fu Panda, but a point of Kung Fu Panda is you're supposed to draw parallels between the villain and Po, the protagonist, anyway. So it makes sense that the Riddick character is similar to both, I guess.
Yeah. So the quick and dirty version of Pitch Black is he's on his way, he's incarcerated, he's on his way to Slam, he's being escorted by an officer of the law. What's the... Oh, never mind.
I don't know what word you're trying to go for.
Authoritarian? No, that's not it. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Welcome to a podcast where I can't speak. So every episode. And they get struck by a rogue comet and end up crash landing on a planet, and there's only a couple of survivors, including a holy man named Imam and a...
This isn't the quick and dirty. You're telling us the entire plot of...
Quick and dirty.
The quick and dirty Pitch Black plot is Riddick bad, Riddick going to prison, Riddick escape, help people eventually, even though he wants to let them all die. Most of them die, he saves two people in the end.
Jack and Imam.
Yeah. And Riddick can see in the dark because he has special eyes.
Yes.
The quick and dirty of Kung Fu Panda is the panda learns Kung Fu.
That's not true. He already knew Kung Fu.
He didn't really.
He had to be motivated.
Yes.
That was the whole thing. He just had to be motivated.
Yes.
And the easiest way to motivate his character was food.
I will say it's a very body positive film. Considering there's definitely at the beginning of Kung Fu Panda there's a lot of fat phobic comments. But he literally saves the day because of his weight and his size. That's how he's able to do what he's able to do. And it's they use real things, the villain uses pressure points to acupuncture pressure points to immobilize people, and it is genuinely medically it's more difficult to find pressure points in people who are overweight and obese, and they use that as a way for Po to defeat him. So that they do actually it's quite, I find, well, I don't know.
For the only thing that came to mind just then when you were saying that was the fight sequence at the end of Serenity. because he always uses that pressure point to immobilize people.
Oh, right,
And
right.
then Mel was all like, ha, I got them moved.
I was like, who's the panda?
Who's the panda in 3D?
Yeah. So I do think it's a kind of a body positive film. I enjoyed it. But that's as much as we're going to say about the first films, because that's not what we're here to talk about.
We're not going to discuss Dark Fury, the animated bridging movie between Pitch Black.
No,
we're going to take from Escape from Butcher's Bay, the prequel.
No, because there's no live action middle film between Kung Fu Panda and Kung Fu Panda 2.
Well, we watched that 7-minute long
we watched a
Jack Black where he was pretending to do karate.
Yeah, we did watch a Jack Black promo. No. So the main crux of this is Kung Fu Panda 2 and Chronicles of Riddick, which are literally the same film. They're exactly the same. There's no difference. Riddick's father is a goose, and okay, spoilers going forward. Where do you want to start with
Poe's dad is actually Vin Diesel. So, yes, in the world of Riddick, there is a death religion race called the Necros, who convert or kill everyone in their path, and they're coming across the galaxy in a reign of genocide before they reach Underverse, which is their Garden of Eden, their promised land, which is in another dimension. And you need to fight evil. You need a different kind of evil, and that's where they're digging up Riddick out of the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Versus Kung Fu Panda, where he's basically a celebrity since becoming the Dragon Warrior. And
in the first film.
In the first film, and is just hanging out with his friends, and still, the Furious Five.
Yeah, which this is, I think it's very funny that it's called the Furious Five, because Vin Diesel is in the Fast and the Furious series, and the fifth one's called Fast Five, because they take out the word, so it's Fast Five and the Furious Five. Anyway, that's irrelevant to everything, but I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
So yes, there's obviously been quite a change in the characters since Kung Fu and Panda 1 and 2, as the characters, when he turns up and is the Dragon Warrior, they kind of shun him quite a bit until he proves himself by defeating the undefeatable, what was the character, who's the bad guy in the first one? Come on,
oh my goodness, I can
tell you the name of the ship they crashed in.
I've forgotten his name, which is terrible. Tai Lung.
Yeah, so after defeating Tai Lung, they've got a little bit more respect for him than they did in the beginning.
Yeah. And also just, anyway. They get to know him over time. I think in the first movie, they kind of resent him because they've been training all their lives and expect one of them to be chosen Dragon Warrior, and he just kind of lands there because he was trying to see the ceremony happen, and he put himself in a chair with fireworks on it and ended up becoming the Dragon Warrior.
Yeah.
But there are no mistakes.
That's how you do it, yeah. That movie, the notes that I have for Kung Fu Panda 1, Jack Black being Jack Black, Noodle Shop, chasing the Dragon Warrior, it's Poe because old Turtle Man is old as a fuck, Super Prison.
Hey, be kind to Master Oogway, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
There are no accidents.
Yeah, and literally the last note I note is so many memes.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely.
But the I've got massive, for Pitch Black because Pitch Black. I love that series, and it's been...
The Kung Fu Panda movies, I know they're great.
That's not the series I was speaking about. I really hope the next one's coming. Because, I've been waiting for ages. And I know COVID and stuff, but, I know he's now, printing money by, saying family and driving cars off the sides of cliffs, but come on, I need, he had time for Witch Hunter.
You need those shiny eyes.
Yeah, I need Riddick back in my life. Jumping back and forward as we do, as tradition. It is tradition. They arrive. he arrives on Helium Prime, which is
Oh,
where
okay, I was like, who's he? Poe?
yeah, where
Poe arrives at Helium Prime. No, we don't need. I mean, we don't need to go.
no, go, I just want to.
Okay.
I want to make a point here.
Okay, I thought you were just gonna recite the entire
I'm not
plot of
reciting
Chronicles of Riddick, because that sounds like what you want to do.
No, the bit that's awesome is he turns up and just kicks ass left, right, and center, and then the super bad guys turn up, and the main leader, who's the High Marshal, literally
Lord Marshal.
Lord Marshal. What did I say? High
High
Marshal.
Marshal. I can't believe you don't know the names of the characters.
There's
in Chronicles
so
of Riddick.
many Marshal characters in there. Just
You got Lord Marshal and Lord Shen.
read some 40k lore, and you'll be like, who's
no,
who, what now?
I don't want to read 40k lore.
My point being, he, to prove a point, pulls the soul out of some dude in a crowd.
Yeah.
And if that's not proving a point that these are the real bad guys, yeah, it's a little bit different from the note that I took from the beginning of Kung Fu Panda 2, which is peacocks are dicks.
Well, they're not though, because his parents were nice and kind and wanted everyone to celebrate and stuff. Remember, they were like throwing parties and having fireworks.
And then he turned the fireworks into cannons.
Yeah, yeah. So both movies open with like someone who can tell the future, explaining the past in a voiceover.
Yeah, and Riddick is Triple D, Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah, what do you mean Triple D?
I don't know why I wrote Triple D down. Dame Judi.
Dame Duty Dance.
Yeah, Dame Judi Dench.
That's not her name, and that's. I apologize to Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah, so do I.
And yeah, so in Kung Fu Panda, it's Michelle Yeoh as the soothsayer.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Who's a goat lady.
Yes,
yeah.
She's a goat. I thought you meant Michelle Yeoh was a goat lady, and I was like, oh, okay, no. I didn't know that about her.
Versus an elemental.
Yes, yeah. But they're both kind of consulted by
the bad guy,
the main bad guy, even though I think in both cases they don't really trust them.
Yeah.
So the elementals are like neutral.
They're a neutral alien race, sort of. And
they're kind of saying, I think he says to her he'll save her planet for last.
Yeah.
So he's still planning to kill all her people. And then obviously the soothsayer predicted. So in both cases,
30 years earlier,
a prediction was made. I don't know, is it the elemental who made it?
Yes, it's both. Yeah.
So it's the same. So in both, it's the same person who did the foretelling, who then told the story afterwards. Made a prediction that the villain in both films would meet their demise at the hands of X person. So in Riddick, it's a Furyan, and in Kung Fu Panda 2, it's a warrior of black and white.
Yeah, which could mean lots of things, but he took it as, I should genocide all the pandas.
Yes, so he genocided the pandas, and the other guy genocided the Furyans.
Yeah,
and in both cases, they missed a guy. They missed a spot.
Yeah, they missed one guy.
They missed one guy.
Well, spoilers for Kung Fu Panda 3.
Yeah. Spoilers for the very end of Kung Fu Panda 2, where they set up Kung Fu Panda 3.
I can't wait to make you watch the third Riddick movie titled Riddick.
Do you want me to watch? Will we watch Kung Fu Panda 3 and the third Riddick movie together? Will we like assume that they're the same, even though we've already discussed it and they're not?
Yeah, no, we've already discussed it and they're not. I'll just make you watch the Panda movie. No, the Riddick movie.
Oh, I mean, you can make me watch the Panda movie. I won't object. I've seen it. I saw it in cinema actually the first time.
The other fantastic parallel between both these movies is they break into a prison. Yes,
they do.
Riddick is chasing after Jack, who was the child he took for the boy, the girl pretending to be a boy that he saved from
the planet in Pitch Black.
The Pitch Black planet.
Mm-hmm.
Who's now in a prison called Crematoria, which is literally on fire or freezing cold, depending if it's night or day. And in Kung Fu Panda 2, when they arrive in the big city, they have to rescue two of the Kung Fu masters.
Yeah, Master Ox and Master Croc.
Yeah, one is an ox and one is a Croc, if you
Yes.
didn't get that from the names. I know it's...
Guess which one is which.
And and then we sort of... That's pretty much the parallel sort of ends right up until the
Oh, there's lots of parallels.
one-on-one.
Well,
There's no scene where Poe kills the man with a teacup. I'm sorry, but
no, unfortunately that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does dress up as a dragon and eat, or makes the dragon eat the wolves and then like beats them up inside and poops them out the other end. Does that count?
To which part again?
The killing with a teacup.
Maybe. Like I was saying, when we were watching the movie, we watched the the director's cut, the actual proper cut, which has all the explanation in it, where you have to watch like everything.
You gotta watch the director's cut of Kung Fu Panda too. Yeah.
Is there a director's cut?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We did watch an extended version of Chronicles of Riddick, which I didn't know until you put it on, and there was like they were giving an intro to the fact that it was an extended version, and I was very scared that it was going to be like 7 hours long.
It wasn't.
Thankfully it wasn't.
So within the movie. Within the universe, sorry, not within the movie. Within the universe, he mentions how he got his eyes, which was he paid a prison doctor prison cigarettes to get his eyes. But in reality, the sequence in Escape from Butcher's Bay, the prequel game, which came out on Xbox, he's literally in the darkness, and that's when he starts getting some of his Furyan like biology coming through.
And that came out after Pitch Black, right?
Yes, it came out for Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah,
so I think they changed.
I think they
the
changed the lore. So
they
do put in like an insert line into Chronicles of Riddick where Jack says like, "Oh, you lied to me about that."
Yeah,
and that's like their way of rewriting it because they thought it'd be more interesting to do this. He's not a human kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's an interesting quote because there's that moment with that beast that they release on the prisoners for their own entertainment. And it's literally that moment of just like where it's staring at him and staring back at him, and the next thing they're like he's patting it.
Yeah.
And then he just like the other prisoner, like the head prisoner, is like, what? And he's like, it's an animal thing. It's just like, wow, that's insane. Just because they've got the same eyes. That's the part that's the important part that I'd forgotten. They have the same eyes.
Yeah, they have the same eyes because they're the same. Or he's just a big softie at heart, really. That
is the running theme because he's always like super affectionate with children and animals.
Yeah.
Poe's super affectionate with food.
Poe does like food.
Yeah,
Poe is pretty affectionate with everyone, though.
Yeah.
He's just a nice guy.
He's a big softie that doesn't run
He's
around in the
literally
dark.
Big and soft.
Yeah, he doesn't run around in the dark stabbing people.
There's no secret softie with Poe. He's large and he's soft. And he's literally nice to everyone and sees the good in everyone.
I love the art style in both these movies for different reasons. I think for Kung Fu Panda, the CGI is fantastic. The attention to detail is fantastic. They are shot cinematically. They are beautiful
They're so beautiful.
The scene
in both Kung Fu Panda movies, like it's just because I think the first one rewatching it, some of the CG doesn't quite hold up to modern times, but like some of the like backgrounds and things. But then there's shots that are just.
Have you seen Toy Story, like clips from Toy Story 1 now? And it's like, oh my god. It's like when we
rewatch A Bug's Life and it's like, oh god, what is this?
Yeah. The one that blows my mind is, I remember playing Morrowind for the first time when you could go demo games in a store. It
looks terrible now.
And you look, well, it's not terrible, but just, wow, like that was the cutting edge. And it's just, it's funny how things have gone where sort of the zeitgeist of acceptability is sort of stretching a little bit.
Yeah, but I think the Kung Fu Panda movie manages to not... Like, I mean, the second one is just fantastic overall, art-wise. But the first one is the one that's got bits and pieces that are a little bit dated. Because, I mean, it came out, 2004, I think. So CG was not at its prime yet. But it gets by really well because the character design is great and it's shot like there's cinematography, you know what I mean? Like you feel like these are real shots.
The other thing is without... There are some moments in both the movies where the characters act very cartoonish in a, like, slapstick, you know, I was going to say Oompa Loompa, that's not the right word, Looney Tunes.
Right,
Looney Tunes kind of way.
Yeah.
But in the difference between this and Into the Wild, or was it just called The Wild now?
The Wild, yeah.
Where they just didn't have... It was that Uncanny Valley-esque sort of, like, they didn't move like animals did, where... Even though these are like anthropomorphic.
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 Yeah,
being that word. Insert that word there. They still move like the animals do. Like monkey still moves like a monkey. Viper still moves like a snake most of the time.
Yeah, they also, all of the Furious Five do different martial arts styles that are martial arts styles that are named after those animals, which is why they've chosen them. And then Poe's style of martial arts is bear style, which is, you know, is a nice little touch.
Could have been Drunken Master, which is a fantastic Jackie Chan movie.
So is Kung Fu Panda 2.
That's correct. The cast in Kung Fu Panda was, but that's animated movies these days, really.
What?
It's very star-studded.
Yeah. I mean, it's DreamWorks, and you know, so this would have been the film before Madagascar, on the DreamWorks timeline. Yeah. But I think before this one was Shark Tale, which had like Will Smith and Jack Black and.
Oh, we don't talk about Will Smith.
Oh, yeah, okay, we won't talk about Will Smith, but you know,
Bruno, it was. You don't talk about Will Smith.
But there is, you know, that was a massively star-studded cast, and then because I think Robert De Niro was in Shark Tale. Whereas in this one you've got obviously Jack Black again, Angelina Jolie,
Lucy
Liu, Jackie Chan, Seth
David
Rogen,
Cross.
David Cross, and then you have Dustin Hoffman as Master Shifu. I think it was Ian McShane, is that his name? Or have I mixed him up with someone? I think it's Ian McShane plays Tai Lung in the first movie. Obviously Gary Oldman is our villain in the second movie. Yeah. What's amazing is as anyone who knows me knows, I'm a big Gary Oldman fan. When I watched Kung Fu Panda 2 for the first time, I actually watched it because, or like it was on my list to watch mainly because Gary Oldman was in it. But I was about like an hour into the film before I realized that he was in it, because I was so like just engrossed in the film that I just totally forgot.
That's cute.
It's just a really good movie. It's genuinely, I mean, I 100% recommend the Kung Fu Panda series to anyone. And I think Kung Fu Panda 2, in my opinion at least, is one of the rare occasions where the sequel is better than the original. You've just seen these for the first time, or you've seen Kung Fu Panda before but not the sequel, is that right? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think the second one does it better? Yeah,
in certain ways. I think overall, the action sequences are far more interesting. I'd agree with the sequel. It's better.
I think it's better. It doesn't have a higher rating, which surprised me, but maybe people just haven't, as many people haven't seen it.
Or it wasn't as new, and that's the other thing that people tend to do is they just take the new thing and they're like, oh, this is really cool, and then they're like, oh, a sequel. It's like...
Yeah, maybe. But it's, for me, what makes it, and I think this applies to both Chronicles of Riddick and Kung Fu Panda 2, what makes it stand out from the first movie is, in both cases, the first movie is character has been inserted into the situation and has to live up to something to save people.
Yeah.
In the second movie, it's, you know, the character is going to go do this thing semi-reluctantly. They're going to save, you know, in Riddick, the universe, in Kung Fu Panda 2, all of China. And then they discover the personal connection, and it becomes this personal story, and suddenly you, as the viewer, are finding out their personal backstory as they are finding it out, because in both cases, the main character is experiencing these, like, dreams where things are kind of cutting in and out, and in Kung Fu Panda 2, they do this with this lovely 2D art style where he's seeing himself as a child or his parents, or, you know, he's seeing other pandas that he's never met another panda.
Yeah.
And it's this, this beautiful art style. And in both cases, then they eventually reach a point where they remember and they realize these aren't dreams, they're memories. And they realize that they have a deep personal connection to the main villain.
I don't know if it's so much memories with Riddick, though, because it's sort of like because it's like time slowing, jarring, like supernatural abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. No, but he does. But I mean, it's, he's getting these like flashes before, and it's like he can't quite make sense of them because he doesn't remember his past.
Yeah, that's because he was literally strangled with an umbilical cord. It's mentioned in both the movies, and there's a really interesting sequence where the Lord Marshal, when the Lenser is killed on their what's the main ship called? I can't remember what the ship was called. It's terrible. How dare I call myself a fan? I can't remember what their ship was called. He takes a Lenser cable that they've used like as surveillance and like wraps it up again, and it's like a nice little...
Yeah. Nice little throwback. Yeah, I did notice that. But I think in both cases the sequel, that personal connection that they have. So I think in both cases the first movie is a good movie, but in both cases the sequel, which is the ones that we're really talking about today, are you get to see a lot more of the character and of their backstory and of what might motivate them or what's how they're connected to the villain. Like Poe has no connection to Tai Lung in the first movie. I mean, there's no equivalent in Pitch Black because he's fighting weird, like large creatures, things that like darkness.
Yeah, darkness dragons.
Yeah, weird darkness dragons. So of course he has no connection to them. It's just a scary. It's just like a horror movie.
Personally, as a standalone movie, I think Pitch Black is the better movie.
Better than Riddick or Chronicles of Riddick, or better than Kung Fu Panda?
As for me, it'd be better than Kung Fu Panda. But overall, I think without being a series, I think Pitch Black as a concept and a movie and the budget they did and the acting they got and the concepts they did, it's a better movie.
Right.
But without the storyline and it going into these characters and then, like this sort of overarching narrative, I think Chronicles of Riddick is better. And it's interesting because of how the sequel goes to Chronicles of Riddick, where it also looks interesting how Kung Fu Panda 3 seems from the ending part of Kung Fu Panda 2.
Yeah, we can watch it sometime, but it's, we won't be comparing it to another Riddick movie.
Yeah. And depending on how Riddick 4 turns out, you don't know. Yeah. We're going to see the movies when that comes out, so
yeah. So maybe the Riddick movie after the one that's already out will be the plot of Kung Fu Panda 3.
Yeah.
And then I can call it a rip-off of Kung Fu Panda, like you called Kung Fu Panda 2 a rip-off of Chronicles of Riddick.
Well, it did come out after, and it had very similar plot points.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think for both Chronicles of Riddick and Kung Fu Panda 2, they wouldn't work as standalone films. They need the first film to make them.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you need that context.
And the animated bridging movie. And the game. Pretty cool.
Yes, of course, obviously. I mean, not that I've seen those, so I don't know. I didn't think it needed those because I managed to watch it without those, and it was fine.
I don't know what else to say. There's some moments of Chronicles of Riddick that would stand out to me. There's some really well written characters. Toombs is one of them, the Merc, who is basically his bus driver to Crematoria. There's a little bit of an explanation about him in Dark Fury, which is the animated bridging movie.
We're here to compare Chronicles of Riddick and Kung Fu Panda 2, and you keep talking about this animated bridging movie.
Wait, let me get into the storyline of Escape from Butcher's Bay. That has Exhibit in it.
No.
We haven't talked about Carl Urban yet.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Carl Urban, our favourite, our boy.
He plays Varko, who's sent after Riddick.
Yeah, so he's the equivalent of the wolf with one eye in Kung Fu Panda 2.
Which I thought they were hyenas in the beginning.
No, they're wolves. There's a whole backstory to those, apparently, which doesn't appear in the movie. So
is it in the live-action bridging movie?
Yeah, it's in the live-action bridging movie starring Gary Oldman as a peacock.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, so
What did we watch the David Finch thing the other week that was super weird?
Oh my god, the movie, I can't think of what it's called. It's got a really long title. It's like, what would Jack do? Is it just called What Would Jack Do? I don't know. It's,
something like that.
It's David Lynch
interviewing a monkey.
Interrogating a monkey who's committed a crime or something.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But anyway, the backstory of those wolves is that they were the palace guards when Lord Shen was young and was living with his parents in the palace. They were the palace guards, but he, as a child, would because he had no one else to hang out with, he'd hang out with them and talk to them and get to know them. And he was the only one who treated them like people. So they became very loyal to him. And then when he was thrown out of the house because of the fact that he was becoming evil and wanting to make weapons, they all went with him and did what he said. But you do have that moment, which is very reflective of Chronicles of Riddick, where near the end, Lord Shen is getting really panicky about the fact that this prophecy is going to come through. It's going to come true. So he starts to put everyone else's lives in jeopardy, which is the same thing that happens in Chronicles of Riddick. That
because they are going to fire on their own guys when they're leaving Helion Prime, and they all take off because he's afraid Riddick's going to come. And
and then and Carl Urban's character Vaco and his wife Dame Vaco, who is 100% Lady Macbeth. That's who she is. She's like, the most Lady Macbeth character I've seen in a film. The whole time she's like trying to convince him that he needs to kill the king and he needs to take over, whatever. And that's exactly what Lady Macbeth does in Macbeth. But she convinces him eventually by saying, like, look, he's showing weakness. He's afraid, and that's going to damage everyone. So for everyone's benefit, we need to get rid of him. And so that culminates with Vaco going up to him during the one-on-one fight with Riddick, and he thinks he's going to help him kill Riddick, but he goes to kill him instead. Yeah,
it's after he kills Kira, who's now Jack, like, after all the horrible stuff that's happened to Jack because she signed on with Mercs, the same people who wanted to cut her up and use her as bait.
Yeah.
And, he was, oh, you were supposed to be a big brother to her. It's like, you people need to stay away from me. And the rule of the Necromunders is you keep what you kill.
You keep what you kill.
And then, Vaco tries to kill the Lord Marshal.
So
and
that
the
he can
Marshal
become Lord Marshal.
does his cool shadow jump. And then shadow jumps right into the most overkill. Like, he stabs a knife into his head, snaps the knife off, and then knees him in the face. He's already dead, bro.
And in Kung Fu Panda 2, what it is that Poe and the Furious Five are destroying all the ships because Lord Shen and his wolves have been
building cannons.
Yeah, so they've built hundreds of cannons and they're bringing them out of on a river on these ships, and they're going to go all around China and take over China. And they block them up at the mouth of the river. And as the ships are starting to pile up, Lord Shen orders the wolf. I don't think that head wolf ever gets a name in the movie. But he's the equivalent of Vaco, and he tells him to fire, and he said, no, we'll hit our own men. And he's like, I don't care, fire.
Yeah.
And that's when he turns around and he goes, no, because he's like, no, you've lost our loyalty, and you clearly don't have our interests at heart anymore because you're so afraid that you're going to risk everything. And that's that kind of parallel moment.
The random piece of trivia for you.
Mm-hmm. It's usually my thing.
Yeah, it's usually your thing. When, after the Lord Marshal is dead, and he holds Kira, and he says, are you with me, Kira? And she's all like, I've always been with you. And then there's that singular tear. Not faked. Apparently that was real.
Oh.
And apparently the entire set was really quiet until, like, way longer than normal. And he was like, cut. And they're like, well done. Like, wow, that was so good. And it's a shame that she doesn't get Kira's character, Jack, from the, like, because Jack's sort of like the main him not being evil. Because there is that sequence where he locks them all in a cave and runs away.
Yeah.
And it's just it's literally right there. And he has that moment where he is standing there in the rain, dragging the batteries. This is pitch black, not Chronicles of Riddick. Well, they might not.
They might not.
So
this is in the first film.
Yeah.
For context.
Where Vin Diesel becomes the Dragon Warrior. He does think about it for a second.
Leaving?
Yeah. And that's when Fry turns up and it's all come back for me. And, it's they have that, I will try for them. No, that's not what I asked you. I will die for them. And it's just that sequence where he's not for me. Which is a really powerful sequence. But yeah, I think Jack should have had more, Kara should have had more screen time other than being a someone needs rescuing, and then also let's play my favorite game, who's the better killer.
Yeah. I mean, the equivalent of Jack in Fu Panda 2 is, I was gonna say Tigress.
Oh, I was gonna say the dad. The noodle dad.
The noodle dad. No, because him and Tigress do kind of back and forth, whatever, and in the first film they're butting heads a bit, but then they learn to care about each other by the end of it. And in the second film, she jumps in front of the cannon for him. So she gets injured. So that's, the same as, when he's having his one-on-one battle in Chronicles of Riddick and she gets injured, except in one it's face and the other one it's not.
Kung Fu Panda 2 is such a rip-off.
It's not a rip-off. I took down quotes from both of them that were the same because, but it kind of highlights the difference in how they view the world in Riddick and Poe, because it's in Chronicles of Riddick, when he sees that Jack has been converted, he says to the Lord Marshall. I was going to say Lord Shaman, and that's not correct at all. He says to Lord Marshall, "You killed everything I know."
Yeah.
Because he destroyed his home planet, or killed his people, and now he's also changed. He's gotten rid of what he knows of Jack.
And also, Imam's dead.
And Imam is dead as well. Yep. Whereas in Kung Fu Panda 2, the whole overarching premise of the movie is that he needs to find inner peace, and when he does that, he can do whatever. And he finds inner peace, and then he uses that to defeat Shen's army because he's able to catch the cannonballs and get rid of them.
Yeah.
And then when he's fighting Shen afterwards, Shen is like, "How did you do it?" And he's like, "Oh, I just did this, whatever." And he's like, "No. How did you find peace?" And what Shen says to him is, "I took away your parents, everything." So and Poe explains, that's he can still find peace, and he's got everything else or whatever. And it's this idea that Riddick doesn't make connections easily, and when he does and then they're taken away from him, that's it, he doesn't have anything else. Whereas Poe, has had his parents have been gone his whole life, he's whatever, and then but he's got his dad in the noodle shop, he's got the Furious Five, even though they hated him to begin with, he's got Shifu, even though he totally resented him to begin with. He makes these connections and he's able to find peace within himself, and it's got nothing to do with, he can still find peace despite the tragedy.
I'll tell you one major issue I have with the Kung Fu Panda series is I really want noodles.
Yeah, no. Joe, what's fantastic watching them, basically one after the other. I know we watched them a few days apart, but in the first movie, Poe's big dream is to do kung fu.
Yeah.
Whereas his dad tells him that he had a dream once too, and it was to run away and open make tofu instead of making noodles. And he's like, "But who could I be making tofu?" But then in the second movie, the signs are up outside saying that he sells noodles and tofu. So Poe chasing his dreams, becoming the Dragon Warrior. His dad's like, "I can chase my dreams too. I'm gonna sell tofu." And I thought it's very cute. I really like Poe's dad. I think he's just a wonderful character. And I love that he has to sit him down and tell him that he's adopted. And that quote when Poe tells Tigress, and he's like, "I've just found out my dad isn't really my dad." And she's like, "Your dad the goose?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's just like, "That must have been quite a shock. But also then obviously at the end he goes back to him and he's like, you know, I found where I came from, I know who I am, I'm your son. And that's very cute. I love post-dad.
At the end, Riddick is now the Lord Marshal of the Necromanters.
Yeah, because he killed him.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a very like inner peace kind of moment as well, because he kills him by hitting where he's going to be, not where he is.
Yeah.
Because he's using his magic Furyan powers, I guess, to know that. It's not fully explained, but it's because he's a Furyan that he's able to do that, and because he's Riddick. And both these movies are essentially about self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yeah.
Because
literally.
Yeah.
That's what the connection between these two movies are.
Yeah. Because
and all the same things that happen in both of them for some reason.
A lot of things are the same.
Got another piece of trivia for you.
Oh yeah.
So Carl Urban's crazy hair. Apparently he turned up at the casting with that hair, and they were just like, "You
keep it
sorted."
I like Carl Urban.
Yeah.
This is funny because I mean we recorded our Dread episode quite a while ago, but as this is being released, it's only 2 episodes before this one. As we're recording this, it's the episode that's just come out.
Confusing. I'm glad you're the producer.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a little bit. Well, you know, we try to have a few episodes recorded in advance. We've gotten a little bit behind, but we still have a couple in the bank.
It's been a crazy year.
Yeah, it's been a strange time.
Trivia time from you rather than me for once.
Yeah, you want to go trivia time?
Yeah.
What have I got? I don't remember. I took it down, but I've forgotten what it was.
Oh no.
Vin Diesel refused to begin casting the movie until he convinced Dame Judi Dench to sign on to it, because he wouldn't make the movie without her in that role.
Trivia for you, the goggles he's wearing are the same goggles from One, except they're made more comfortable, because apparently they were really uncomfortable to wear. That's
fair enough. The actors in the Lancer costumes, you know, those weird, we didn't even talk about them. They're these weird guys that are, they can see, is it life force or just heat?
I think it's just whatever they need it to for writing purposes.
Fair enough, yeah. So they're able to, they're using them to go around and see if there's still people alive after they've blown up a whole lot of stuff, so they can just kill them all individually. Yeah.
But they could also see ion trails from, like, interplanetary drives.
It must be like an energy thing, right? Yeah. They could see certain types of energy. But anyway, the people who were inside those were people who were skilled in body movement, and most of them were from Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, well, you could tell from them because they were doing, like, the creepy gremlin-y walk.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. They're really good. At one point, the production was the 3rd largest user of electricity in the whole of Canada.
Was that Chronicles of Riddick?
Chronicles of Riddick, okay. Yeah. Also, I just took this down because of the connection, but the fighting style Riddick uses is a martial art called Kali, which is straightforward, powerful attacks, and using blunt weapons like a staff or 2 pieces of bamboo. It's funny, he's in martial arts with bamboo. Panda.
Damn panda connections.
He's the same as a panda. He also played Dungeons and Dragons on set with Judi Dench and Carl Urban and Thandie Newton, which sounds like a great campaign to be part of. I'd love to play D&D with. Maybe I should ask Carl Urban if he wants to play D&D with me. I don't know why I'm saying Carl Urban will never play D&D with me.
No, he's too busy making Dread 2, hopefully.
And The Boys.
Oh, yeah, that too. Forget about The Boys. I forgot that he's stuck in The Boys contract.
What? We love The Boys.
We do love The Boys. I'm just saying I would also like Dread 2, thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd like Dread 2. I'd like, or
Dread 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Or a TV series of Dread starring Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would watch the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Netflix, get on that shit.
I don't even think Netflix. I think like HBO.
Who's doing the Boys? It's Amazon?
Oh yeah, it's Amazon.
I don't like Amazon as an entity though.
Yeah.
Unless you're listening to this on Amazon Music, in which case we love Amazon.
The people aren't paying.
Oh yeah, so Lord Shen in Kung Fu Panda 2 uses another form of martial arts called Kali Fo, which is the one that usually uses a metal fan. So I thought that was clever that they use that because he's using his wings and his tail feathers.
Yeah.
Instead. Oh yeah, and this was my one of my favorite facts about it was that it is the Kung Fu Panda 2 is the highest or the biggest box office success for a movie with a solo female director. That's Jennifer Yu Nelson. And until the release of Frozen in 2013, it was the biggest box office success of any movie with a female director. But she's on her own for Kung Fu Panda 2, whereas Frozen has two directors. And then this fact was just for all of my animation friends who were listening, that the film took 99 terabytes of data and used more than 55 million render hours to make.
Yep, it's a lot.
55 million hours of rendering. That's so many. They also said that, like, animating Lord Shen in particular was so difficult, it was equivalent to animating 6 separate characters because of just, like, the range of movement he had and the different stuff he did. Are you okay?
Yeah, just sneezing.
Are we including that in the podcast?
Yeah, no, just keep going. Just keep going. Keep rolling.
Do we want to do budget and box office?
I don't think they're equivalent, but go. Because
Okay.
I think the other thing is that the other hindrance for the Riddick movies is they've been a cult classic after they've been released, so their box office hasn't been great. But it was very similar to Firefly and how that got a movie was just the DVD sales.
Yeah.
Has really pumped it up. Like when I bought Chronicles of Riddick, I watched it 7 times in a row.
Yeah. I'll say I've got budgets and box office for all 4 films, and the budget of Pitch Black is way less than the budget of Chronicles of Riddick, which I guess you can tell by watching it.
Not that it's bad, it's just limited.
Lower budget, yeah.
That, and they wrote really well to make it. You know, it's just a desert planet.
Yeah, but that's it. Is that it's just filmed in a desert in Australia.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole thing. Whereas obviously in Chronicles of Riddick, there's like multiple planets, spaceships, whatever, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So, do you want to have a guess at budget of Chronicles of Riddick?
36 million.
105 million.
Oh.
Is the budget.
Maybe I was thinking Pitch Black.
Pitch Black was 23 million. And the budget of Kung Fu Panda 2, sorry.
CGI 120.
150 million. So the first one was...
One of these days I'll get these.
Yeah, the first one was 130 million. What about box offices? How much do you think Chronicles Riddick made at the box office? So budget was 105 million.
189.
115.
Yeah,
it only made 10 mil over the breaking even, which is not great. What about Kung Fu Panda 2? What do you think that made at box office?
316.
$665 million for Kung Fu Panda 2.
It's just going to be a point in time where everyone just makes CGI movies because they just make so much freaking... CGI kids movies because they make so much freaking money. It's like No Man Land, which is like stand out to me, probably one of the best movies I watched.
Oh, Nomadland.
Nomadland.
Yeah, I thought you said No Man Land.
Yeah,
I got confused.
I
think that had a real low budget.
Yeah, low budget. Most of the actors, I say that with air brackets, weren't actors; they were just people. Best actress, best director, best movie. That probably made like nothing at the box office because everyone was just been like, "Man, I'm not watching a movie about a lady living in a car."
I don't know. I'm not gonna look it up because it's not that relevant. Oh, I mean, because it'd be dead air as I searched through. But I imagine that was a pretty low budget and a really good film.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I mean, I do think the Kung Fu Panda movies are genuinely beautiful movies, and there's good writing. Good acting, because I mean, you know, we've discussed this before with animated films and how sometimes, you know, especially when they bring in big name actors, it's just people reading a script.
Yeah.
You know, they're properly acting, you know what I mean? They're believable performances.
I found it. It cost $5 million and made $39.5 million.
Oh yeah, that's not a lot.
No.
We didn't talk about, well, and I just want to touch on it because it's literally, and I said it to you when we were watching it, is one of my favourite sequences in any film, not just, in this, in that film.
Is it the sequence where he takes his goggles off?
No!
And stares into the darkness? No?
I'm talking about Kung Fu Panda 2.
Oh, right.
So throughout Kung Fu Panda 2, we're getting these like flashes of this 2D animation of Poe's dreams. And then as he's starting to remember what happened to him, you're seeing bits more and more of what happened, but it's still this 2D animation, and then it just switches. And it cuts from this lovely, 2D art style to the same CG as the rest of the film. And then it plays out, what actually happened, and his mother leaving him in a radish crate and telling him to be quiet while she distracted the wolves and ran in the opposite direction, and they, went after her and not him. And it's just like, it's really emotional without there being much said. Like it's all visual acting, even though it's CG. It's the animators doing their visual acting, and just that sequence where it switches from the flat 2D really stylized into, as it goes from a dream into his actual memory, and he fully remembers it. I just think is really well done and really beautiful, and just like a fantastic transition there.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I like the sequence with the hand appears on his chest and he shoots out that energy wave and he knocks Carl Urban over.
That's the same sequence, but in the other film.
Yeah.
That's the same sequence where he remembers it and then... Alright, okay. You just don't want to say anything? Did you hate it?
No. What? I'm just making a joke. It'd be so serious. No, there was a very enjoyable, and the mixed media is fantastic.
Yeah, there's just something about that sequence that every time I see that movie, I'm like really moved by that particular sequence, and I just think it was fantastic filmmaking choices.
I just am amazed of how far CGI water's come, because it's always the big one, because it's and it looks fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, and that's over 10 years ago now. It was 2011 that came out. So wait till you see Kung Fu Panda 3, which is... I think it's really... Yeah, I just think the Kung Fu Panda movies are beautiful.
Sweet. Do you want to wrap this up so we can go watch Riddick or...
Kung Fu Panda 3?
No, Riddick.
Sure.
You will sit there for 30 hours and watch me play through Escape from Butcher's Bay?
No, I don't think so. I'll have to play it myself, obviously, to get that experience.
True.
No, I'm not going to play it. Alright, well, thank you all for listening. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at ittakes2_pod, or on Facebook at ittakes2pod, or else check out our website at ittakes2.co.nz.
Stay safe out there, folks, and we'll catch you next time.
Goodbye.